Hi guys, Susan here. Okay, in today's lesson we're going to size up this torso sloper that we did in a previous lesson. We're going to grade it, and that's what's next. Okay, first guys, we have to talk about what grading is. Grading in a commercial setting with commercial patterns is the ability to size up or increase the size from one pattern to another, consecutively going up and going down. Meaning we have that one base design, and it is through calculations and measurements a way to increase the size, or sizing up, so to speak, is a grading that actually is a 1 inch size increment, meaning a size 6 then becomes a size 8 and a size 10, and each one of those increases in sizing is only 1 inch circumference around the dress form. When you're doing small, medium, large, extra large, that is what's called a 1.5 inch grade. I was asked a question to demonstrate the 1.5 inch grade, the extra small, small, medium, and large type. So I'm going to show you that on the flat. But before I do that, I'm going to take the torso sloper that we did in a last episode. I'm going to add seam allowance and make it a pattern, which is what you need, and then grade it. Show you what you need first for supplies. You're going to need the pattern making paper, but if you don't have that, you can use brown paper or just plain wrapping white paper that's not shiny. That will work. You're going to need a cork board with your push pins. If you don't have a cork board, you can use straight pins. I'll show you that. You're going to need pencils. I'm probably going to be using pens just so you can see what's going on. Paper, scissors, weights, anything you can use to weigh things down. French curve, 2 inch by 18 inch clear plastic ruler, and the hip curve. Okay, let's get it started. Here is the sloper pattern that we did in the previous lesson. This is on the size 8 form. The sloper does not have seam allowance, and I want to show you this the proper way, so we're going to do this in a 2-step form, meaning I'm going to make this a pattern first, and then we're going to grade it properly. So I have a piece of pattern making paper here, approximately 24 inches wide by about 34 inches long. I folded it in half right on one of the markings, and I'm going to place the center front of that sloper on that marking. And the reason why is we do not want a seam in the center front of most garments. I'm just going to place it there like that, and you can either push pin this, which I'm going to push pin on these darts, or you can weigh it down, whatever works for you. So we're going to push pin this or weigh it down. It has to be very precise, guys. So I'm going to put it right on the center front. I'm going to put push pins at the dart points because that's going to easily help me transfer this over into a pattern. So I'm going to put it in the middle part of the dart, and I'm going to put it on the ends of each dart. So that way we're going to be transferring that exact dart where that exact dart is supposed to be. Now that we have it weighed down and push pinned down, we're just going to take a pencil, and we're going to just trace around this sloper so that we can add seam allowance to it. We're going to go inside the notches of the darts, just like that are outside, inside the notches of my armhole notch, and we're just going to trace all the way around. As soon as we do that, we have everything traced. We're going to quickly take these push pins off like this, and now we have the markings here. What I'm going to do here is then just take my straight ruler or whatever ruler is necessary and fill in those darts. Here is the dart point. I'm just going to go ahead and put in that dart like that, from dart markings to the dart point. And now we have the dart points here as well. And I'm going to just fill in those lines. So from the dart point to the waistline dart point to the bottom part of the dart, which is where the skirt would be. And I'm just going to fill in all of these lines just like this. So that makes it easy to transfer. And that's one dart. I'm going to take this second dart here like that, and I'm just going to put from push pin to dart points at the waistline to the dart point at the bust level. and again on either side of this, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and go all the way up there. Now we have all the darts in. The next thing we have to do is add our seam allowance. If you do not have a cork board too, you may be able to do this, and that is just take your long pins and just pin the paper together like that, just so it's easier to handle it when you're doing this pattern. So you don't necessarily need to have the cork board, guys. All right, so I'm just going to pin this all along like this, just to show you that. All right, now that I have that down, what we're going to do is add seam allowance. Armholes are 1/2 inch. You need to find the right side of your ruler, and then you're going to add just parallel lines or markings all the way around your armhole like this, so that we can add our 1/2 inch seam allowance. Commercial patterns, professional patterns only use 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, sometimes 3/4, but we do not use 5/8 inch. That is a home sewing pattern formula. So we're going to be doing this as a professional pattern. So we're going to just add a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch on the shoulder, just like that. The neckline is always a 1/4 inch. So around that neckline, I'm just going to add parallel lines or markings going around that curve, just like this, all the way around the neckline. So that's what we're doing right now, all the way around this neckline. Here is the dart. We've got to do that little circle thing. Remember, we have to do that in order to have enough for the dart. And then a 1/2 inch all the way around the sides of this pattern till we get it right. All right. And I'm not going to worry too much about the hem, because this is just a torso pattern demonstration in the grading process. Now that we have that all like this, you can put the pins together again to keep it together. Cut this out on the cutting line. The cutting line is the edge of where you put that seam allowance. Try to be accurate. If you cannot see your lines, that they're not accurate enough or they're not close enough, you want to then take any of the rulers that you have and correct those lines and fill them in so that you have a better cutting line, because every 1/16 inch will matter in your grading process. So I'm going to go as accurately as I can and as quickly as I can around this pattern. I'm going to cut it all out just like this, and I'll be right back. I already traced out the back sloper on a piece of paper, added the seam allowance all the way around. I did 1 inch on the center back because you have to get into this garment, so either zipper, buttons, whatever. You can only fold the center front if it is a woven fabric. I push pinned all of these darts, carried it over. Now we have that here. I wanted to show you again how to true the pattern and the darts. The first one we're going to do here is on the front, and what we're going to do is we're going to correct this shape here on the outside of the dart for the seam allowance. And we said that all dart excess has to go down or towards the center front or center back. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold this back here like this, the bottom line, just like that. And I'm going to carry it over, pushing my finger down on that dart point. You can use a pin, you can use a pencil, and then carrying it over to the top part of it like that. I'm just going to make sure it is properly turned under. So there you go. It's going to concave, obviously. So we have that there. I'm going to correct this side seam because that side seam isn't just right. So I'm going to go ahead and put that line again. I'm going to add my 1/2 inch from that line, just like that. And I'm going to cut out that excess right now. So now when I cut that out, you have the actual angles and excess of paper, which will be translating to fabric underneath this garment, and it will be just right. We did that on the front. Let's go ahead and do that on the top dart here. This is the center back. So we're going to have all darts going towards the center back. So I'm going to fold that line that's closest to the center back, first. And then I'm going to carry it over to the other leg of that dart. I'm going to concave again. I'm going to concave it. It's a tiny dart, so it's not going to cooperate as well. I'm going to fold that like this and let it concave. I want you to be able to see what's going on. Then I'm going to correct that on here as well, putting my ruler and making that more of a straighter line like that. And if you want, you can actually pin that down. Let's go ahead and pin that so it stays put. I've got a pin on that dart to close it. And I'm going to add my seam allowance to the pattern like that. And I'm going to cut the excess where that markings are. Now that I'm going to make that just a little bit straighter here. Okay, so those two darts are put in. And then I mark this center back. I mark this center front. We've got to put grain lines. Grain lines are parallel to the center back or the center front. And the 2-inch mark will be my grain line for the back. The front grain line will be the same way, 2 inches parallel to the center front. And then when you put arrows, that then becomes a grain line. On the grain line, you're going to put your information. And the information is, what is this pattern? The torso sloper that we added seam allowance to, so it became a pattern. But it's still our torso sloper. I want that to be said so that I know that the ease on this is very, very little. It is from a size 8 dress form. So I'm going to keep it that way, but I'm also going to put, which will translate into a 4/6 in an actual garment. The same way here. This is considered a torso sloper. You can put pattern because now it is a pattern because we added seam allowance. So we can do that. We can say that it's a pattern as well there. And we're going to say the size 8 because that's what it's technically draped on. And then it will convert into a 4/6. So we're going to put that down. Then underneath that line, you have to write how many times that garment is actually cut in fabric. So this is just one side, so I'm going to have to put 2. And I always use the word self because I don't know what fabric I'm going to use. It could be any woven fabric, right? So that's how I use self. If you know what fabric you're going to put it in, you can add what it is, whether it is, poplin, or whether it is cotton, or whether it is gabardine, whatever it is, you can put that in parentheses here. But if you don't know yet, you can just call it self. On the front, it's the same way. And since this is on the fold, we already have the right side and the left side of this pattern, correct? So we're only going to cut this open one time. So I'm going to put 1 self. All right, we've got now the most important thing you need to do before you do any pattern or finish any pattern is walk that pattern and make sure that all the side seams and the shoulder seams and all the seams match. And that's what we're going to do right now. There's different ways of doing that. I'm going to walk it here and hopefully you can see what's going on. And that is, I'm just going to put this, you want to be able to see the seam allowance. So you want to make sure that that intersection of this seam allowance from the armhole to the side seam matches this intersection. If you have to see it, you can peek just like that and hold it that way. Once I get to where that dart is, I'm going to put a marking because now we're going to have to carry that because there's not a dart in the back, there's only a dart in the front. So then I'm going to carry that marking just like that, hold it, and then let it walk along this pattern, and we have it good. It has just about a little bit of a 1/16 of an inch I might want to cut off there, which I will do. The shoulder has a dart as well. So what I'm going to do is turn this over like this, which is 1/4 of an inch this way, and 1/2 of an inch this way, and 1/2 of an inch this way. So we have those intersections. Then I'm going to put that intersection to intersection to make sure that that's on its intersection just like that. And then I'm going to go and find out where that dart starts. So I'm going to hold that like this. I'm going to fold it back just to give me a nice indication of where that dart is beginning. And now I can put a mark there. And now I can carry that dart marking to the other side of where that dart ends, just like that. Make sure that they match so you can see, and then carry it along this side. And it's matching, it just wants a little bit off here. So I'm just gonna make it just a little bit shy here. And those are important because when you're doing grading, it has to be extremely accurate. So I'm going to cut this little teeny bit, which is a sliver, it's not even a 1/16 of an inch on that one. And I'm going to cut the excess here too, that we said was too long in the front, which is just a sliver. All right, so every little bit of that matters. Okay, so this pattern now is ready. Okay guys, meet me in the next video where we take this torso sloper pattern and grade it up a size. All right, see you there. Thank you.